Los Angeles, once a gleaming beacon of humanity's power and progress, had been reduced to ashes in the span of a few hours. The city's skyline, once proudly etched against the blue sky, now stood as a jagged silhouette of ruin, burned and scarred by the alien firestorm that rained down from the heavens. The Galactic Empire had made their declaration clear. Earth was not just a threat to their dominion, it was an affront to their superiority. And so, with the press of a button, they obliterated one of Earth's greatest cities, setting Los Angeles on fire, in a brutal reminder of their might. The world watched in horror as video feeds broadcasted the devastation. Buildings crumbled like sandcastles before a relentless wave. The famous coastline, where millions had vacationed, was now a wasteland of charred remains. Entire neighborhoods had vanished into the unforgiving inferno. There were no survivors, no escape. It was a message from the stars. In the White House, President James Gallagher sat at the head of an emergency meeting, his jaw tight with anger. His eyes, once hopeful, now gleamed with a fury that matched the fire that had destroyed the city. The room was filled with military advisors, intelligence officers, and his most trusted generals, but the president's thoughts were focused on one thing: retribution. "This is no longer just an attack," President Gallagher said, his voice low but powerful. "It's an act of war. We will make them regret ever coming here." Colonel Alex Mitchell, a man who had spent his life fighting wars both at home and abroad, stood with the confidence of someone who had seen the worst humanity had to offer. He was a seasoned leader, battle-tested and unwavering in the face of terror. His eyes met the president's, and in them was an unspoken understanding. Los Angeles was not just a city. It was a symbol of all that Earth held dear. And it had been shattered. "Sir," Mitchell said, his voice calm yet heavy with resolve, "we don't know what we're up against. These aliens, they don't just have superior technology. They have the resources, the firepower, and the will to crush us if we don't act decisively." "Then we'll hit them first," President Gallagher replied. "But we'll need more than just our conventional forces. This isn't just a military operation. It's a statement. We need to strike them where it hurts." At that moment, Captain Thomas Reynolds entered the room. A man of brilliant intellect, Reynolds was Earth's answer to the advanced technology that the aliens had wielded with such efficiency. He had been working on advanced systems to counter alien tech, and it was this expertise that made him one of Earth's most valuable weapons. He had been waiting for the right moment to unveil his latest creation. "I've been working on something, sir," Reynolds said, stepping forward. "It's a prototype, but it could make all the difference. We've been reverse engineering their weapons for months, but this will let us fight them on their level." Reynolds activated a holoscreen, and a 3D model of an exosuit appeared, shimmering with a glow that was both futuristic and intimidating. The suit, a hybrid of Earth-made technology and salvaged alien designs, was built for one purpose: to take the fight to the aliens. It was heavily armored, with a powerful energy shield capable of absorbing direct hits from the aliens' orbital weapons. The exosuit's core was powered by a reactor that could generate enough energy to send devastating pulses of kinetic force, making it the ultimate equalizer. "We call it Project Titan," Reynolds said. "Once these suits are deployed, we'll have a fighting chance. It's still in its early stages, but it's ready for field testing." Mitchell studied the suit for a moment, his tactical mind already calculating its potential. "How soon can we get them into the field?" "Within days," Reynolds replied. "We have a small prototype army ready to be deployed, but we'll need to ensure the alien technology stays under control. They'll adapt quickly if we give them the chance." "Then we move fast," Mitchell said. "The aliens have made their first move, and now it's our turn to show them what we're capable of." The operation began almost immediately, with human forces rallying for the first counterattack. The aliens had underestimated humanity's ability to respond, thinking that Earth's defenses were primitive and unprepared. What they hadn't accounted for was Earth's greatest weapon: its people. Sergeant Jack Hammer Thompson, known for his brutal efficiency in combat, was part of the first wave of soldiers to test the new Titan suits. A natural leader on the battlefield, Thompson had a reputation for getting the job done, no matter the cost. His unit was assigned to strike at a key alien outpost that had been established in the Midwest, a place where the aliens had begun to fortify their control over the Earth's remaining energy sources. "Let's give them hell," Thompson muttered under his breath, climbing into the exosuit. The suit fit him like a second skin, its advanced interface already syncing with his neural pathways. His fingers flexed against the controls, feeling the immense power that coursed through the suit's frame. As his team prepared for the mission, Mitchell stood on a nearby ridge, watching as Earth's forces mobilized. The tension in the air was palpable. There was no room for failure. The next few hours would determine the course of this war. "Thompson, you and your team will lead the charge," Mitchell ordered through the comms. "Strike fast and hard, and get out before they can respond. We're going to hit them where they don't expect it." With a heavy nod, Thompson's team moved out, the massive Titan suits now walking among the soldiers like armored titans from another world. The ground shook with every step, the suits leaving deep impressions in the Earth. Their mission was clear: destroy the alien outpost, cripple their supply lines, and show them that Earth would not bow. The enemy, however, was not blind. As the humans moved closer, the sound of alien ships piercing the sky filled the air. The battle was about to begin, and it was clear: this would not be an easy fight. The aliens had made a mistake when they decided to test Earth's resolve. But humanity, in all its fury and defiance, would fight back. And the war had just begun. The early hours of humanity's counteroffensive were brutal. Sergeant Jack Hammer Thompson's squad, outfitted in the new Titan exosuits, tore through alien defenses with a ferocity born of revenge. The outpost they had attacked was on the outskirts of a ruined city, its towering structures offering no shelter, only a clear shot at the humans who dared to approach. The suit's enhanced speed and strength made Thompson's team a force to be reckoned with. But even their technological advantage couldn't mask the daunting truth. They were fighting against an enemy that had controlled the stars for eons. Thompson's visor flickered as his suit's AI registered an incoming attack. "We've got incoming," he barked through his comms, his voice sharp and commanding. A swarm of alien drones descended from the skies, their sleek bodies darting like predatory insects, charging the human soldiers with pinpoint precision. The aliens, having seen the destructive capabilities of the Titan suits, had adapted quickly. Their counterattack was relentless, and the air around Thompson's team shimmered with the heat of plasma beams slicing through the air. The Titan suits were designed for such moments, their energy shields absorbing the blows from the alien weapons with ease, but the constant barrage began to chip away at the humanity's advantage. Thompson gritted his teeth, holding his ground as the drones closed in. "Stay sharp," he shouted. "We're not letting these bastards push us back." In the distance, Colonel Alex Mitchell watched from the ridge, his eyes scanning the battlefield. The success of the mission hinged on Thompson and his team. If they faltered, it could all go wrong. But Mitchell knew his soldiers were resilient. They would adapt. They always did. He keyed into his comms. "Thompson, use the environment to your advantage. Draw them into the narrow streets. Limit their movement." Thompson's voice crackled back. "Copy that, Colonel. We're drawing them in." Thompson and his squad moved swiftly through the crumbling streets, weaving between the shattered remnants of buildings, luring the alien drones into the choke points they had prepared. With a sudden motion, Thompson slammed the heel of his Titan suit's boot against the ground, sending a seismic shockwave rippling outward. The drones, overconfident in their superior numbers, swarmed in, but their advance was suddenly halted as they were funneled into a narrow alleyway. The Titan suits, despite their bulk, moved with swift precision. The aliens had underestimated human ingenuity. One by one, the drones were destroyed as the human squad activated their weapons. High-powered energy cannons, railguns, and devastating pulse blasts, each strike tearing through the alien machines. It wasn't a perfect victory. Several drones managed to slip through their defenses, but the battle was shifting. Earth's soldiers had adapted. In the command center miles away, Captain Thomas Reynolds monitored the situation, his fingers flying over holographic displays. His mind was a whirlwind of calculations. Earth had lost too much already. The aliens had provoked humanity's wrath, and Reynolds was determined to make them regret it. The last few days had been a blur of calculations and adjustments. The Titan suits, though powerful, weren't flawless. The aliens had an array of advanced technologies that seemed to evolve with every encounter. Reynolds had been working on a new tactic, something that could give Earth's forces the upper hand. But time was running out, and he needed to act fast. He'd been working on something hidden beneath the surface of the battlefield, a virus that could infiltrate the alien command systems. If successful, it would disable their ability to coordinate, causing their forces to splinter. Reynolds had worked with the best hackers from the military to develop it, and now it was ready. The question was, would it be enough? "Colonel," Reynolds said over the comms, his voice steady, "I've got a window. If Thompson can get close enough to the alien communications hub, I can deploy the virus. It's our best shot at crippling them." Mitchell, who had been coordinating the ground assault, didn't hesitate. "We're moving out. I'll relay your plan to Thompson." As the battle raged on, Thompson and his squad pushed deeper into the alien-controlled zone. Their Titan suits, now showing signs of wear from the constant barrage, continued to push forward, relentless in their mission. Thompson's focus never wavered as they neared the heart of the alien outpost. The alien drones, initially relentless in their pursuit, began to slow their assault as they saw the humans moving closer to their command hub. The skies darkened as more enemy reinforcements appeared, but Thompson knew this was their chance. He had to make it count. Through the narrow streets, the squad advanced. Thompson's pulse quickened. This was no longer just about survival. It was about sending a message. Earth would not be cowed. They would adapt, and they would win. "We're in position, Reynolds," Thompson said as they neared the heart of the alien complex. "Deployed." Reynolds, watching from the command center, initiated the virus. The digital battlefield shifted as alien systems began to flicker. The alien drones, once unified in purpose, now hesitated, their movements jerky and uncoordinated. The virus was spreading like wildfire through their network. Thompson's voice crackled over the comms again, a grin forming beneath his helmet. "It's working, Reynolds. Keep it up." But just as victory seemed within reach, the ground shook violently. An alien warship, previously hidden behind the outpost's defenses, emerged from the depths of the city, its massive guns aimed directly at Earth's forces. The warship had come to obliterate everything. "Fall back," Mitchell commanded, but Thompson's squad had already committed. They couldn't leave now, not with the virus so close to taking full effect. Thompson gripped the controls of his Titan suit, knowing that this next move would either make or break their chances. His squad moved forward with renewed purpose, closing in on the alien warship as the virus spread like wildfire through the alien network. The tension was palpable. Would they succeed, or would this final push end in failure? In the distance, the alien warship fired its first volley. The battle was far from over, but for the first time since Earth had been attacked, humanity could see a way to win. The battlefield had become a landscape of chaos, each explosion a thunderous reminder of the stakes. The alien warship loomed like a nightmare in the sky, its guns fired relentlessly, tearing through the city below. Thompson's Titan suit, battered but unyielding, surged forward, his mind locked on one objective: reach the alien ship's heart and disable its weapons. His squad moved with precision, their every step calculated, but the situation was growing increasingly dire. "Hold the line," Thompson barked into the comms, sweat trickling down his brow beneath the helmet. His exosuit's power systems flickered dangerously, but he pushed forward, the mission too critical to abandon now. Colonel Mitchell, monitoring from the ground, could see the shift in the battle as the virus began to take effect. The alien drones faltered, their coordinated movements now reduced to disarray. The command ship systems were starting to fail, but the warship's continued barrage kept Earth's forces pinned down. The aliens, in their desperation, threw everything they had left into their final stand. Yet it wasn't enough. The tide had started to turn. Mitchell's voice crackled in Thompson's ear. "Thompson, we've got one shot at this. If you can take out that warship's power core, we'll have a chance to stop them for good. But you'll need to act fast. Thompson's pulse quickened. The power core. He had seen the schematics. It was buried deep within the ship's underbelly, heavily guarded and fortified. But it was the weak link. If it went, the warship would lose its capacity to fight back. He nodded, the weight of the mission settling over him. His team wasn't just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting for the future of Earth. "Understood, Colonel," Thompson replied, his voice steely. "We're going in." The squad pushed forward, threading their way through the wreckage of a once thriving city. The Titan suits clanked with every step, the hum of their energy shields masking the sounds of alien fire above. Thompson led the charge, his rifle raised, scanning for any sign of alien movement. His squad moved with unwavering discipline, a testament to their training and resolve. But even as they advanced, the alien forces were adapting. More drones descended, but this time they weren't alone. The aliens had brought in their heavy artillery, towering, mechanical giants designed to rival the Titan suits. Their armor was nearly impenetrable, their weapons powerful enough to shatter steel. Thompson's heart raced as one of the machines stomped into view, its massive cannon aimed directly at him. The ground shook with each footfall of the mechanical behemoth, its weapons charging with lethal intent. "Get down," Thompson yelled, as his squad scattered into cover. The behemoth fired, and Thompson barely managed to evade the deadly blast, his Titan suit's shield flickering as it absorbed the impact. The force sent him stumbling back, his vision momentarily blurring. He shook it off. This was far from over. "Focus fire on the legs," Thompson shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "We need to take it down before it gets any closer." His squad responded in perfect sync, unleashing a barrage of railgun fire and plasma charges aimed at the behemoth's lower limbs. The alien machine reeled back as the first shot hit, its heavy armor sparking, but it didn't fall. It retaliated with a sweeping blast of energy, and the squad dove for cover again. Thompson's mind raced. They couldn't afford to waste time. The warship was still firing, and with each passing second, their chance of taking it down was slipping away. The power core needed to be hit now. "Reynolds, where the hell is that backup?" Thompson shouted over the comms, frustration seeping into his tone. "We need that window." Back at the command center, Captain Reynolds was working at a feverish pace. His fingers flew across the controls, his eyes locked on the fluctuating data on his screens. The alien warship's shields were weakening, but only just. The virus he had deployed was taking hold, but it needed more time to fully disrupt the ship systems. Every second counted. "We've almost got it," Reynolds muttered to himself, sweat beading on his forehead. Just a little longer. The battle raged on. Thompson's squad continued to exchange fire with the behemoths, their weapons taking a toll, but not enough to stop the juggernauts. Thompson's Titan suit was now battered, energy reserves running low, but the mission came first. His squad leader, Corporal David Snake Barnes, was the first to spot an opening. "Got a target," Barnes called, his voice laced with urgency. "Lower left quadrant, weak point." Thompson didn't hesitate. He charged forward, aiming his rifle at the exposed weak spot Barnes had marked. With a single shot, he blasted through the armor, the explosion throwing the behemoth off balance. It staggered, its massive frame crashing to the ground with a deafening roar. The alien forces faltered as the threat was neutralized, but the victory was short-lived. The warship above them was still a looming menace, its guns ready to fire once more. "Mitchell, we're almost at the core," Thompson yelled, his voice now taut with urgency. "We need that cover now. Hang tight." Mitchell replied, "Backup's on its way. We're sending in reinforcements." But time was not on their side. The alien warship's guns powered up, its targeting systems locking in on the advancing soldiers. Thompson's stomach tightened. They were too exposed. "Snake, cover me," Thompson ordered as he sprinted toward the warship's entrance. "I'm going in." The rest of the squad held back, guns blazing to keep the remaining alien forces at bay as Thompson made a run for the warship's central structure. He could feel the heat from the warship's cannons in the air, the ground shaking beneath him with every blast. Every step felt like an eternity, but finally, he reached the core. Inside, the alien technology seemed almost alive, whirring and clicking, humming with unnatural energy. Thompson's heart pounded in his chest as he made his way through the corridors, scanning for the core's location. He had no idea how much time he had left before the warship unleashed its final, fatal strike. His suit's HUD finally locked on to the target. The core. He could see it now, buried deep inside the ship's heart, glowing ominously. But before he could get closer, the ship's security system engaged, sending a wave of energy blasts in his direction. Thompson gritted his teeth and dove for cover, his mind racing. He had one shot at this. The virus was working, but it wasn't enough yet. The battle was won only when the core was destroyed. With no time to spare, Thompson reached for the detonator at his belt and began the countdown. The warship's doom was sealed, but would it be in time? He steadied his breathing. The fate of Earth rested on this final, desperate moment. The alien warship trembled beneath Thompson's feet as he activated the detonator. The countdown was set, but as the timer ticked down, a cold rush of fear swept over him. The ship's internal systems had detected the threat, and a powerful defensive shield flared to life, blocking the explosion from reaching the core. His heart sank. The moment they had worked toward, the culmination of their struggle, seemed to be slipping through his fingers. "Damn it," Thompson muttered under his breath, frustration twisting his gut. His Titan suit systems were operating at full capacity, but they couldn't overcome the alien technology on their own. The warship was far more advanced than anything humanity had encountered. "Thompson, what's your status?" Colonel Mitchell's voice crackled through his comms, urgent and laced with worry. "I'm stuck," Thompson said, teeth clenched. "The core shielded. I need a solution. Fast. I can't blow it from here." There was a pause on the other end as Mitchell processed the information. "We're pulling every trick we have. Just hold on. We're not leaving you behind." Thompson scanned the chamber. It was eerily quiet now, save for the hum of alien machinery and the faint crackle of his comms. He had no time to waste. The detonator was useless as long as the shield remained intact, but the warship systems weren't flawless. There had to be another way in, a weak point that hadn't been guarded. His mind raced as he analyzed the layout of the room, taking in every detail. His eyes fell on a secondary control panel, hidden in the far corner, its faint blue glow offering a glimmer of hope. It was an auxiliary system, likely tied into the warship's core defenses. If he could override it, perhaps he could drop the shield long enough to complete the mission. Without hesitation, Thompson moved toward the panel, his movements swift and determined. He felt the weight of his suit's power, the battle-scarred frame still capable of impressive agility, as he reached for the interface. But just as his hand hovered over the panel, a voice boomed in his ear. "Thompson, get out of there now." It was Captain Reynolds. He had been monitoring the situation from the command center, tracking every movement of the warship. "What's happening?" Thompson barked, his fingers hovering over the panel. His squad needed him, and he wasn't about to back down now. "The warship's going critical," Reynolds replied, urgency thick in his voice. "We've detected a self-destruct sequence. You need to get out, Thompson. The ship's going to explode." A cold chill ran down Thompson's spine. They had been so close. The virus had spread through the alien systems, but it hadn't been enough to stop the warship's final contingency. It was set to destroy everything. "I'm not leaving without finishing this," Thompson said, his voice firm, despite the adrenaline that coursed through his veins. He'd come this far, and there was no turning back now. With a deep breath, Thompson's gloved hand slammed onto the control panel, overriding the alien systems. His suit's AI interfaced with the ship's internal network, the two systems clashing in a violent exchange of data. Sparks flew from the panel, and for a brief moment, everything went black. Thompson's heart skipped a beat as the world around him seemed to freeze. Then, the shield collapsed. The warship's defenses were no longer a barrier. The core was exposed. Thompson didn't waste a second. He pulled the detonator from his belt once more, hands shaking with the weight of the moment. He pressed the button. A brilliant flash of light consumed the chamber as the warship's power core detonated in a violent, world-shattering explosion. The force of the blast threw Thompson across the room, his suit's energy shield flaring as it absorbed the shockwave. The world around him dissolved into a blur of fire and light. He had no idea if he was dead or alive. For a heartbeat, everything was still. Then the reality set in. The warship was gone. The hum of the alien machinery, the oppressive weight of the battle, all of it had been obliterated in an instant. Thompson lay on the cold, scorched ground, dazed but alive, his suit still operational, though battered. His comms crackled to life. Thompson. Colonel Mitchell's voice came through, filled with disbelief. Did you do it? Is it over? Thompson's voice was low but steady, a sense of relief slowly washing over him. It's over, Colonel. The warship's gone. There was a long pause before Mitchell responded. I don't believe it. You did it, Thompson. You actually did it. Thompson's fingers trembled as he reached for his suit's control panel, his mind struggling to process the magnitude of the moment. They had won. Earth had struck back, and humanity had triumphed over an enemy that had thought them weak, insignificant. It was over, but not without cost. The war had exacted a heavy toll on both sides, but the future of Earth had been secured. But the mission wasn't quite complete. He had to regroup with his squad, ensure they had survived the blast, and make sure there were no lingering threats. He forced himself to his feet, the battle-weary Titan's suit creaking under his movement. Snake, Barnes, report in, Thompson said, his voice a calm anchor amidst the storm that still raged within him. After a few moments of static, the voices of his squadmates came through. We're good, Sergeant, Barnes said, his voice steady, though the relief was palpable. We made it out in time. Barely, but we're good. Same here, Thompson, Snake added, a touch of disbelief in his voice. That was one hell of a ride. Thompson exhaled sharply, the tension in his body slowly loosening. His squad was intact. The mission had succeeded. The battle was over. But there would be no time for celebration. Not yet. Earth had won, but the war was still far from over. The galaxy had taken notice, and now humanity had to prepare for whatever would come next. For the first time since the war had begun, Thompson allowed himself a moment of quiet. The sound of distant explosions and the crackle of his comms faded into the background as he surveyed the wreckage. Earth had fought back, and for the first time in history, the galaxy would learn that humanity was not to be underestimated. He didn't know what the future held, but one thing was certain: Earth would rise, and they would be ready for whatever came next.